Is loving yourself the ultimate act of selfishness, or the secret to saving others from your own inner storms? That's the razor-sharp question slicing through the heart of our confusion today. We toss around self-love like it's a trendy hashtag, but in the same breath, we cringe at selfishness as if it's a moral plague. As someone who's walked the path of Buddhist teachings for decades, I'm here to cut through the noise with ancient wisdom and raw, lived truth. Let's unravel this knot together, with lessons from the dusty roads of my own life and the timeless words of the Enlightened One. Now, before we dive deeper, let me throw another spark into your mind. If self-love is so pure, why does it sometimes feel like a slippery slope to putting yourself above everyone else? Hold that thought. We often mistake the warmth of caring for ourselves with the cold edge of ignoring others. I've seen it in the eyes of friends across Europe and America, in quiet meditation circles from London to Los Angeles. Folks wrestling with guilt over taking time for themselves, as if a moment of rest is a betrayal. But let me tell you, as an old soul who's meditated under ancient banyan trees and in modern city parks alike, the distinction isn't just in the act, but in the root of the intention. Selfishness festers in a mind that's never satisfied, always clawing for more recognition, more comfort, more control. I remember a man I met in a small German town, Hans, who ran a bakery. He worked day and night, not out of love for his craft, but because he couldn't bear the thought of anyone outshining him. He'd snap at his workers, hoard profits, and even undercut neighbors just to stay ahead. That's selfishness, born from a gnawing void inside, a hunger that no amount of more can fill. It's a mind that sees the world as a battlefield, where others' happiness is a threat to your own. In Buddhist terms, this is the poison of attachment and aversion, a cycle of suffering the Buddha warned against in the Dhammapada. The one who is disturbed by endless craving finds no peace. And studies back this up. Psychologists at the University of California found that chronic self-centeredness correlates with higher stress and loneliness, with over 60% of surveyed individuals reporting strained relationships due to self-focused behaviors. So, selfishness isn't just a moral failing, it's a mental trap, chaining you to dissatisfaction. Let's lay this out systematically, brick by brick, with the clarity of a monk's morning chant. Selfishness, at its core, is a symptom of an unsatisfied mind, a restless beast pacing in the cage of unmet expectations. Think of it like this. You expect life to hand you endless pleasures, and when it doesn't, you grab at whatever you can, even if it means stepping on others. I've seen this in my own past, back when I was a younger man in the hustle of life before I turned to the Dharma. I'd chase promotions, status, even petty wins and arguments, thinking they'd fill the hollow ache inside. But each victory left me hungrier, angrier when the next didn't come. That's the trap. Selfishness isn't about caring for yourself. It's about obsessing over a version of self that's never enough. The Buddha taught in the Majjhima Nikaya that this stems from ignorance, from not seeing the impermanence of things. You clutch at fleeting joys, money, praise, power, ignoring that they slip through your fingers like sand. And the cost? It's not just personal. I recall a story from a retreat in the Scottish Highlands, where a woman named Fiona shared how her husband's selfish pursuit of career success left their family fractured. He'd work 80-hour weeks, missing birthdays, anniversaries, all for the next raise, the next title. She described nights alone, kids asking why daddy wasn't home, and the slow erosion of trust. That's the ripple of selfishness. It poisons relationships, turning love into resentment. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that self-centered behaviors and partnerships lead to a 40% higher likelihood of divorce or separation, often due to eroded emotional connection. Now, let's paint the mechanics clear. An unsatisfied mind breeds unrealistic expectations. I deserve everything now, which fuel actions that prioritize personal gain, I'll take what I want, which then harm others, your needs don't matter, completing a vicious cycle of suffering. In Buddhist practice, this is the wheel of samsara in microcosm. Endless chasing, endless pain. But here's the flip side, the seed of hope. If selfishness is a disease of the mind, then self-love, as the Buddha taught, can be the cure. It's not about indulgence. It's about protection, compassion, and understanding, starting with yourself. Picture a weary traveler, yourself, sitting by a stream, offering a cup of water not to dominate the river, but to quench a genuine thirst. That's self-love, a quiet act of kindness inward, which I've learned over decades of meditation, can change everything. I've sat with countless seekers in retreats across the West, from the misty cliffs of Ireland to the sunny valleys of California, and I've seen how those who learn to accept their flaws, without judgment, begin to soften toward others' imperfections too. It's no coincidence. The Dalai Lama often says, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. And that starts with yourself. So, self-love isn't a luxury, it's a foundation. It's recognizing your own humanity, your aches and scars, and saying, I'm enough as I am. This isn't fluffy talk, it's practical. When I broke my leg years ago in a small village near Bristol, I had to slow down, literally and mentally. I couldn't rush, couldn't strive. I learned to sit with myself, to breathe through the pain, to accept my limits. And in that stillness, I found patience, not just for my healing body, but for the world around me. That's the Buddhist path. Self-love as a mirror reflecting outward kindness. Studies, like those from Harvard's mindfulness research, show self-compassion reduces anxiety by 30% and boosts empathy in social interactions by a similar margin. So the logic holds, self-love, unlike selfishness, isn't a grab. It's a gift, first to you, then to everyone you touch. But wait, here's a twist that might rattle you. Isn't there a risk that self-love can disguise itself as selfishness, tricking us into overindulgence under the guise of self-care? I've seen this shadow creep in, even among devout practitioners in American sanghas. Take Sarah, a yoga teacher I met in Portland. She started prioritizing me time after a burnout, which sounded noble: meditation, retreats, long walks. But over months, it morphed into avoidance. She'd skip family gatherings, dodge friends' calls, all while claiming, I need this for my peace. Her loved ones felt abandoned, and her self-love turned into a wall, not a bridge. This is where discernment, or prajna in Buddhist terms, comes in. True self-love isn't a free pass to neglect others. It's a balance, rooted in awareness of interconnectedness. The Buddha's middle way teaches us to avoid extremes, neither self-deprivation nor self-obsession. I've wrestled with this myself during long retreats in the Welsh countryside, where solitude tempted me to forget the world. But I'd recall the sangha, the community, and how my peace meant little if it didn't serve others. So, let's dissect this. Self-love risks becoming selfishness when it loses mindfulness, when caring for me ignores caring for we. A 2019 study from the University of Amsterdam found that excessive focus on personal well-being, without social consideration, increased narcissistic tendencies in 25% of participants over a year. The antidote? Intention and reflection. Ask yourself, as I do daily, does this act of self-care nourish me without harming others? When I started journaling my thoughts each evening, a practice I picked up in a Danish monastery, I noticed how often my needs were just disguised wants, echoes of ego. True self-love aligns with compassion, ensuring your cup is full not to hoard but to share. It's why in Theravada teachings self-love is paired with metta, loving kindness, which extends to all beings. So while the line can blur, the Buddhist lens offers a compass. If your self-love isolates, it's veered off path. If it connects, it's true. This tension between the two forces us to look deeper, to see self-love not as an end, but as a means to a greater good, a protector of both self and others. Here we reach the heart of the matter, the blazing truth the Buddha illuminated over 2,500 years ago. Self-love, when pure, is the ultimate safeguard not just for you but for everyone around you. Let's unpack this with the weight it deserves. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha declares, "One who loves oneself will never harm another." Why? Because true self-love means guarding your mind against the poisons, hatred, jealousy, greed, that spill out and wound others. Think of your mind as a garden. If you let weeds of anger grow unchecked, they don't just choke your peace, their seeds blow into your neighbor's yard. I learned this the hard way in my early days of practice, during a retreat in the French Alps. I harbored resentment toward a fellow meditator who, in my view, disrupted our silence with constant fidgeting. My mind stewed in irritation and soon I was snapping at others, my negativity a contagion. It wasn't until a teacher guided me to reflect on my own unrest. Why was I so quick to judge? That I saw the root. I wasn't loving myself enough to accept my own impatience, so I projected it outward. When I shifted, offering myself kindness through breath and meditation, my anger dissolved and I could smile at that fidgety soul. This isn't just anecdote, it's mechanics. Self-love builds a fortress around your mind, keeping out destructive thoughts that harm relationships. The Buddha's advice in the Anguttara Nikaya is precise. Protect yourself as you would a city, with mindfulness as your guard. I've seen this transform lives. Take Michael, a Vietnam vet I met at a retreat in Colorado. He carried decades of guilt and rage, lashing out at his family, unable to forgive himself for what he'd seen and done. Through Buddhist practice, he began self-compassion exercises, acknowledging his pain without judgment. He described it as sitting with an old wound, not picking at it, just letting it be. Over months, his outbursts lessened. He could hug his daughter without the shadow of anger. His self-love, guarding his mind, protected his loved ones. Research from Stanford Center for Compassion and Altruism supports this. Individuals practicing self-compassion show a 35% reduction in reactive aggression, directly benefiting interpersonal dynamics. Let's break down the logic. Self-love fosters acceptance, I'm flawed and that's okay, which cultivates mindfulness, I see my harmful impulses, which prevents harm, I choose not to act on anger, thus safeguarding others. This isn't passive, it's active defense. I recall teaching a group in Manchester where a young man, Tom, admitted to envy eating him alive. Envy of friends' careers, relationships, even their laughter. It made him bitter, petty, until he learned to guard his mind through self-love, repeating, I have enough, I am enough. His friendships healed. His venom turned to warmth. This ripple effect is why the Buddha placed self-love at the core of ethics. You can't practice the 5 precepts, no harming, no stealing, etc., if your mind is a battlefield. So, unlike selfishness, which seeks to take, self-love seeks to protect, creating a sanctuary within that shelters everyone. It's no small thing, it's revolutionary. When I meditate now, whether in a quiet corner of my home or during a group session in Berlin, I visualize this protection. A shield of compassion around my thoughts, ensuring they don't wound. And the data aligns. A 2021 meta-analysis from the Journal of Positive Psychology found that self-compassion training increases pro-social behavior by 28%, proving that loving yourself isn't self-indulgence, it's a public service. So, let this sink in. Every act of self-kindness, every moment you guard your mind, is a silent vow not to harm, a gift to the world. Now, let's ease into a softer space. A moment to breathe and feel the weight of this truth with a touch of warmth. Imagine waking up one morning, not chasing the next big thing, not beating yourself up for yesterday's mistakes, but just Grateful. Grateful for the breath in your lungs, the creak of your bones, the simple fact you're here. I do this often, sitting on my porch with a cup of tea, watching the sun rise over whatever city I'm in, be it the foggy streets of Edinburgh or the golden hills of Napa Valley. I think of my late wife, her laughter still echoing in my memory, and I'm thankful for the years we had, flaws and all. That gratitude, born from self-love, feels like a quiet hug to the soul. It strips away the restless hunger of selfishness, leaving you full, not empty. I remember a retreat in Italy where a participant, Maria, broke down in tears during a sharing circle. She'd spent years hating herself for not being perfect, not thin enough, not successful enough, until she started practicing gratitude through metta. She'd write one thing each day she appreciated about herself, even if it was just, "I tried today." Over time, she said, "I stopped seeing life as a race I'm losing. I started seeing it as a gift." That shift moved me deeply. It's the heart of what I've learned in my long years on this path. Gratitude isn't just a feeling. It's a shield, a byproduct of self-love that softens the edges of life. I've seen it in the most unexpected places. Once, in a gritty cafe in Chicago, I overheard a man at the next table, rough around the edges, tattooed and tired, murmuring to himself, "I'm still here, man. That's something." That raw, unpolished gratitude hit me like a bell chime. It's universal, it's human. And in Buddhist practice, it ties back to anatta, the non-self, realizing you're not separate, that your joy and pain are woven into the worlds. So, when I say self-love breeds gratitude, I mean it rewires how you see everything. It's why, during tough times, like when I lost my savings to a bad investment in my 60s, I didn't spiral. I sat, breathed, and listed what I still had: health, wisdom, a community. That kept me steady. And I bet you've got moments like this too, small anchors of thanks that pull you back to peace. It's not about ignoring pain, it's about not letting it define you. So, picture yourself right now, wherever you are, maybe in a bustling London flat or a quiet Colorado cabin, and name one thing, just one, you're grateful for. Hold it close. That's self-love in action, a gentle rebellion against the chaos, a reminder you're enough. And when you carry that, you don't just lift yourself, you lift everyone who crosses your path. So, let's tie this all together with the clarity of a temple bell. Selfishness is the child of dissatisfaction, a restless chase that harms you and others, born from a mind that can't rest in enough. Self-love, on the other hand, is compassion turned inward, a mindful guard over your thoughts that protects not just you but everyone, as the Buddha taught. It breeds patience, gratitude, and a kindness that ripples outward. I've walked this path for decades, from the quiet of Asian monasteries to the bustle of Western cities, and I've seen it proven in my life and countless others. When you accept yourself, you free yourself to truly care for the world. Start today. Guard your mind, offer yourself a moment of kindness, and watch how it transforms everything. If this resonates, if you want to keep diving into these ancient truths with me, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Your support fuels my drive to share more. And hey, let's connect deeper. What's one thing you're grateful for right now? Drop it in the comments. I'm eager to read your stories.